About 32 combat clashes occurred between the Ukrainian Defence Forces and the Russian occupiers on 5 fronts on the 20th of July. Source: General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Information is of 6 o'clock on the 21st of July. Quote: "The Russian Federation carried out another missile attack on Ukraine last night. Information on the consequences of this terrorist attack is currently being clarified. Over the past 24 hours, the Russian occupiers carried out a large-scale missile and air attack on the territory of Ukraine, using 3 Kalibr sea-based cruise missiles, 5 Iskander-K ground-launched cruise missiles, 4 Kh-22 cruise missiles, 7 Oniks cruise missiles and 19 Shahed attack UAVs. In addition, the enemy carried out 49 airstrikes and launched 72 attacks using multiple launch rocket systems. Unfortunately, the Russian terrorist attacks have resulted in civilian casualties, as well as destruction and damage to industrial facilities, residential buildings and other infrastructure. The likelihood of missile and air strikes throughout Ukraine remains very high. The enemy continues to focus its main efforts on the Kupiansk, Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Marinka fronts. 32 combat clashes took place over the past day. Details: the situation on the Volyn and Politia fronts remained unchanged. No signs of the formation of offensive groups were detected. On the Severshchina and Slobozhenshchina fronts, Russia preserved its military presence. Russian troops carried out airstrikes in the area of Semenivka and Novhorod-Siversky in Chernihiv Oblast, as well as Sumy and Rybovsky in Sumy Oblast. Russians deployed mortars and artillery to attack more than 25 settlements, including Leonivka in Chernihiv Oblast, Saradina Buda, Basivka and Volfin in Sumy Oblast, in Udy, Kazaka Lopan, Odnorobivka, Starija, Vovchansk and Budarki in Kharkiv Oblast. Ukrainian forces are firmly holding the line on the Kupiansk front. Ukrainians successfully repelled Russian attacks to the southwest of Mashutivka in Kharkiv Oblast. Russian forces deployed artillery and mortars to fire on Vorokna, Zapadna, Fyholivka, Kamyanka, Krasny Persh, Kupiansk, Kucherivka, Monokainivka and Topoly in Kharkiv Oblast. On the Lyman front, Russian forces bombarded Nevsky and Bilohorivka in Luhansk Oblast and Torsky, Verkhnyokamyansk, Spern, Berestov, Kyslivka and Rozdalivka in Donetsk Oblast. On the Bakhmut front, Ukrainian defenders successfully repelled all Russian attacks to the southwest of Klishivka despite being under heavy Russian artillery fire. Over 10 settlements, including Vashukivka, Bodanivka, Ivanovsky, Stupochki, Chasiv Yar and Oleksandro-Shultin in Donetsk Oblast were affected by the Russian bombardment. On the Avdiivka front, Ukrainian defenders successfully repelled all Russian attacks near Nevelsky despite being constantly bombarded by Russian aircraft and artillery fire. Russian forces conducted airstrikes in the vicinity of Severn and Avdiivka. At the same time, they bombarded over 10 settlements, including Avdiivka, Karlivka, Pervomaisk and Nevelsky in Donetsk Oblast. On the Marinka front, Ukrainian forces continued to hold back an offensive by Russian troops in the vicinity of Marinka and Novomykhailivka in Donetsk Oblast. Russian forces conducted airstrikes near Oleksandropol and Novomykhailivka. They also attacked over 15 settlements, including Krasnohorivka, Marinka, Zeland Persh, Pobeda and Hyorhivka in Donetsk Oblast. On the Shakhtarsk front, Russian forces carried out airstrikes near Zolotaniva, Vuhledar, Starozhev, Makarivka and Blahodatna. Various settlements were attacked, particularly Vlika Novosilka, Vuhledar, Bodian, Blahodatna and Odradna in Donetsk Oblast. Russian forces on the Zaporizhia and Kherson fronts are focusing their efforts on preventing Ukrainian forces from advancing. Russian forces conducted unsuccessful attempts to regain lost territory north of Pryun in Zaporizhia Oblast. Russians carried out airstrikes near Malotokhmachka, Novodanilivka, Yahorivka and Pyatyi Kotki in Zaporizhia Oblast and Kozatsky in Kherson Oblast. More than 30 settlements, including Novodanilivka, Malinivka, Huliaipol, Lobkov, Zaliznikny and Bilahiria in Zaporizhia Oblast, Ponyativka, Tyainka, Chervony Mayak, Antonivka and Zymivnik in Kherson Oblast and the city of Kherson came under Russian artillery fire. At the same time, the defense forces of Ukraine are continuing to conduct an offensive operation on the Melitopol and Berdyansk fronts, They are consolidating the positions they have gained and are carrying out counter-battery countermeasures. Over the course of the day, Ukrainian aircraft landed 8 strikes on areas where Russian military personnel were concentrated. Ukraine's defenders also destroyed a tactical reconnaissance UAV. Units from Ukraine's rocket forces and artillery struck 10 field artillery units at their firing positions, 2 air defense systems, 2 electronic warfare stations and 4 other important facilities of the Russians. General Staff. Ukraine continues to repel attacks near Kupiansk. Elsa Kort, the Kyiv Independent News Desk. July 21, 2023, 2:39 a.m. The General Staff of Ukraine's Armed Forces reported on July 20 that Russia continues to focus its main efforts on the Kupiansk, Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Marinka axes, with around 20 combat clashes taking place during the day. The report stated that on the Kupiansk axis, our soldiers are standing strong on the offensive, and repelling enemy attacks. According to the Military Media Center, the Russian troops shelled Ukrainian positions 700 times over the past week in the Kupiansk and Lyman axes. Colonel Mykola Urshilovich said on July 20 that Russian forces tried to break through the lines and wedge into the battle formations. But all the attempts were unsuccessful and were repelled by Ukrainian defenders. Russia has been concentrating its forces in the area of Kupiansk. Kupiansk was liberated in Ukraine's surprise counteroffensive in Kharkiv Oblast in September 2022. Invaders tried to regain lost positions near Pryun, but to no avail, General Staff report. Ukrainska Pravda. July 20, 2023, 11:11 p.m. From the beginning of the day on the 20th of July, Russian forces tried to regain lost positions in the area north of Pryun, Zaporizhia Oblast. Source: General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on Facebook. Information is of 1800 on the 20th of July. Quote: The enemy, Ed. Made unsuccessful attempts to retake lost position in the area north of Pryun, Zaporizhia Oblast. The enemy launched an airstrike in the area of Piaty-Khatki, Zaporizhia Oblast. Over 25 settlements were shelled. Details. The General Staff also reports that the Russians continue to focus their main efforts on the Kupiansk, Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Marinka fronts, where 20 combat clashes took place during the day. Ukrainian forces, in particular, repelled Russian attacks on the Kupiansk, Bakhmut and Marinka fronts. The General Staff of Ukraine's Armed Forces reported on July 21 that Russia had lost 240,690 troops in Ukraine since the beginning of its full-scale invasion on February 24 last year. This number includes 680 casualties Russian forces suffered just over the past day.